This week's episode is sponsored by the Breakthrough to Excellence Network. This network will help you stop scaling your business in chaos and get you back to building your legacy by restoring your confidence, your systems, and your strategy that will honor your God given talents. You can find more information at www.jasminhaley.com. Welcome to the Breakthrough to Excellence podcast. I'm Jasmin Haley, healthcare provider turned educator, entrepreneur, and startup strategist. Not too long ago, I was burnt out, overwhelmed, depressed, and full of fear from a toxic work environment. I created my business out of necessity to create a legacy I can be proud of today. It helps me transform the lives of women every single day to pursue their dreams and entrepreneurial goals. I created this podcast to share the empowering stories of entrepreneurial women, help you break through self-doubt to your greatness, and share business strategies to help you create a thriving and profitable business. If you are an emerging entrepreneur or business owner that wants to create the mindset needed to escape burnout, reclaim your personal power, and pursue your entrepreneurial dreams, this podcast is for you. Stay tuned and listen in. Welcome to the Breakthrough to Excellence podcast. I am your host, Jasmin Haley, and our guest is Vicki Baird. Doing her 20 plus years in business as an intuitive coach and consultant, she has developed an ability to pinpoint the issues and blocks that humans experience and get in the way of living their most connected lives. She has a very solid reputation of leading with the heart, which I absolutely love, and following up with practical guidance. Her clients get to know who they really are and take their amazing self into the world doing the work and service they love. Yes, welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on your
Yeah.
wonderful show that's helping so many people.
Thank you. I was on your show and I was so happy to be able to chat with you. And I was like, I've got to have you on mine because the work that you're doing is so important. And, you know, one of the things that many of my clients deal with is fear, overwhelmed. There may have been some past traumas that may have happened that, they want more, but they can't get past some of those mind, blocks that are there. So before we really tackle that, the purpose of this podcast is to really help women break through to their level of excellence and to scale their business to 6 figures or more. But I kind of want to learn about Vicki, like why this specific niche and why this is your calling.
This specific niche, because I've been there. And I think a lot of the times we lead best when we can completely empathize, understand what it feels like when you're sitting in your living room having a little bit of a meltdown. I have been doing this 20 years, but it wasn't, jump right in. You know how we hear about the overnight successes that, when you look behind the scenes, take 20 years. And they don't have to. But in some regards, there was no social media or anything like that when I started. My background was actually in healthcare finance. So I was a billing specialist and a consultant to home health agencies to help them their regulations and all of that stuff, and kept getting asked to help direct the company by the executive directors I would work with or the owners. And when I started looking at it more and more, I was like, everything seemed like common sense to me, what was happening or what was getting in the way. And then I realized this doesn't seem to be working, for them. So let me help them out there. And for years I did the individual readings. And then I so love working with entrepreneurial minds. They don't necessarily have to have a business, but that idea of there's a problem, here's a solution, how can I help? It could be a nonprofit, it could be in volunteering. And then, call it odd or not, I love trauma work. I love the fact that through the blend of intuition and then some very practical neuropathway work, involving the brain physiologically, because we are humans walking around here, that the combination with humor and then some steps and then follow up, I just started seeing all of the success that was happening in clients that kept coming back to me. And I thought, boy, this is what I really love, is being able to follow something through, not just come to me, let me tell you what I see, and you can head on out. And because I want everybody to feel their own sense of empowerment. So I think a lot of it has been listening to what do I like to do and, what's interesting to me. And, I like a good treasure hunt. So that's what it feels like to me, is when I help someone, meet themselves.
Oh, I mean, you can tell, like, guys, you can tell when I'm not into something because I am so into everything you just said. Oh, my word. It's so beautiful to me. And here's the thing, like, people fail to realize this when it comes to entrepreneurship. You can make your business however you desire.
Yeah. And for success, it must line up.
Yes.
For consistent success, I should say, because there can be, a product that does well or a business that does well for a certain period of time. But there has to be that alignment in order to, quite frankly, sometimes stay up till 11 o'clock editing a podcast or, putting the work into a program that will just be so exciting later on and will help people. So it's not easy. And I think a lot of times the message is that, just start a business. But what I found is if the person running the business doesn't know themselves somewhat, you're going to trip over your feet and, maybe face plant. And my feeling is that if I can help someone to prevent that, and sometimes that means saying, are you sure this is the business you'd like to be in? Have you thought of this? Because it really is about helping people hear themselves.
And do you find that as women, we struggle with this more?
I don't. I have the privilege of working with some amazing men, and I see the same thing across the board.
Wow.
Yeah, it was actually challenging for me to find a niche because I felt like my niche was people.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to work with people.
Right.
I don't care, what form you come in.
Right.
If you can identify as human, well, you're my people.
Right, right.
And then, of course, you tweak that, because it has to be the people who want to do the work. But there's slight differences in the male population. I find that those identifying as male, I find that their challenge is actually listening. It's not only listening to self, it's listening. I do a lot of helping them to hear what they just said and then translating it to say, is this what you meant? And because the intuition's there, I can feel when someone's out of sync with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my job to tell you you are. It's my job to help you line up, right? With women, I find that I'm dealing with more of self-esteem. I see more helping with the beliefs, the limiting belief systems. No, you actually do have the skills to do this. You got up today and you got your butt dressed. You've got the skills. So there's reinforcing the intelligence a lot of the time, reinforcing that you are smart. You don't have to be like everybody else. And one of the keys, I think, to the success of my coaching and consulting is I don't do cookie cutter. Like when you show up with me.
Yes, I got the praise hands up right now.
When I start working with someone, there's a clean slate. Like I'm seeing you from who you are today. Are there challenges and limiting belief systems or blocks? They're all kind of the same thing, just
Right.
different names. And if they are, can we talk about them? Can we shift them? How would you like to see yourself? Because it's been my experience that if you aspire to have that 6-figure or more business and you don't do this kind of work, the energy will just fall, the bottom will fall out. And sometimes people can do it, but the other thing that becomes fascinating is that, well, maybe not to them, but it is to me, is they'll arrive in those numbers, but their debt will be the same. So I'll say, I need to see your profit and loss. Like, let me look at that. And like, where's the deficit within yourself that won't allow you to embrace a savings account, or a successful operating system?
That is deep, Vicki.
Oh, I don't do surface.
Yes.
I'm a goofball, but I don't do surface.
Man. Okay. This is my problem with the industry because I have, I am transitioning into the biz industry as a biz strategist, right? I work solely in healthcare doing the work that I'm doing, and now I've opened to that. But since I've come in, I have seen so much messaging that is contradictory to what exactly you just said. But what you state is truth.
Right.
It's this false narrative that, I've made, blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I can get you there in 10 days.
Oh, yeah. Don't even get me started on that.
And so it puts this undue pressure on us, on everyone. And then we start really get into a place where we don't trust ourselves in the process.
Right. Which reinforces the doubt that was already there.
Yes.
So you come in with a doubt and then you get layers put on top of that. But most people who have an idea for a business, I'd say about 60% of the people who have an idea for a business, they have the tenacity, they have the intelligence, they have all the working mechanisms. They don't listen to self, they listen more to the external voice and then twist themselves into these pretzels. Like, the message that can get frustrating for me is, what does your client want? And it's like, well, if you don't know what you want, how are you supposed to get into the feeling or the mindset or even the appreciation of what you bring to help said client? Because it's just a repeat of do everything for everybody else before you do it for yourself.
Oh, Lord. I know I'm being so dramatic right now, but it is like, yes, that's so true. It's so true. One of the first steps in my course offering for my members is knowing who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you don't know, then you get swayed about like the wind because someone says, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Or someone says, I don't like what you're putting out there in the world. Or, you get a negative comment and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So, like this purpose of this podcast is to demonstrate those who have break through different challenges and such and have gotten their measure of success, their success for their business. I don't put a limit on like having someone that's a new entrepreneur versus one that has been doing it for many, many years. Mm-hmm. I would be curious to know, especially for you as someone that has a ton more experience than I currently have in business, why would you I would love to hear your opinion about why women specifically are categorized. We have these statistics where 90% of them are not able to make 6 figures in their business and they're not able to flourish profitably and be able to sustain a business. What would you think are some of the reasons why? I would be curious to know.
There are, of course, layers to everything. So,
yeah.
And people are different in their process. I would say the first thing that comes up might be a little surprising. It's not a limiting belief system. It's actually a little bit of fear that when I attain that place, I or my business attain that place, how the heck am I going to maintain it? So there's this limited, like a governor or a tampering down of one's brilliance, because the fear that I don't have enough stinking energy to run it. If I'm tired at 50K, how am I going to do 250K? And that's where the systems come into place, right? That's where affirming that, no, you do not have to do all of this yourself.
Right.
No, but a lot of people don't have that concept yet, because we're not honest. We don't talk about this stuff. It's supposed to be that you can do your business in a week and get this, just give me $10,000, spend the weekend with me and I'll make you a millionaire. Bunk. It's just bunk.
Yes.
So underneath that is the feeling of I'm not worthy of this level of success.
Yeah.
And that one's actually not really hard to shift. It is a matter of identifying sometimes where did that message get installed, but do you want to shift it? And asking, do you even want to be in business? I mean, I ask these questions. I go straight in because if you want to, let's get to work. And where I do more of the emotional support systems and then hand off to the business specialist, right? Because my desire is that whatever the businesses you're doing, it doesn't have to line up with me. Whatever it is you're doing and whatever you want to bring to the world, when those worthiness issues or lack are pushed to the side, not to say that you won't be nervous or face challenges. That's just not feasible. They're going to be there, especially if you're scaling your business. But to have that foundation of belief in self, it translates. And the other thing is, I feel like with women, there's too much identification with their business. So I like to say, okay, but your business you gave birth to it.
What a great analogy.
Yeah, right. You gave birth to this thing because whether you have given birth physically or not, you understand the process if you're doing a business, right?
Yeah.
That you gave birth to it. It has its own energy in the universe. Stop seeing it as a derivative of you and start seeing it as a partner. You're walking together. There have been times when I've shifted my business and I literally sit down and I have a one-on-one conversation with my business. And I'm like, what do you want to do? What kind of effect, what kind of change do you want to bring? What's boring to you? I love asking that question because we get bored with some aspects. So it's multi-layered, all of it, less taxing or difficult to shift than we perceive. Because I think a lot of the times we make things bigger than they need to be.
That sounds like me. Go big or go home.
And that works in a view of your company or a forecasting, if you will, of where you would like your life and your business to be. I believe in go big. But in a sense of, are you blowing this out of proportion? I think there needs to be some humor. Like, is this really this big? Really, it's a comment on social media of somebody who's hiding behind their profile. Seriously, are they calling you? Are they giving you? Are they investing in themselves? Well, then I'm not to sound rude, but I don't care. I don't care. You want to heal that hurt? Call me. So it's definitely different depending on people's paths. demographics, where they were raised, what kind of adults they had in their lives. And I often joke, I'm one of 8 kids, but I believe I was raised by wolves or something, because I was not engaged with much. And I think it led to the independence. And I see this in business owners. I see that independence, that brilliance, that light that's in there. And I feel like if we fan it authentically, honestly, like, then, there's limitless potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with women, it's often important to say, what do you want to do with your success? How do you want to contribute? Where's your tithing? Where is that? Where will you give back for the gratitude, for the abundance? Because if I've just found it's a way to dissipate some of that I can't make all of this. It's like, you can. Okay, how will you give back? And once you activate that within someone, they're usually like, okay, bring it. And it's, yes, it's so exciting.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you have mentioned that. And I even think about my own journey. I'm number 5 of 6, and just how my upbringing and my experiences have impacted me significantly in life unconsciously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I've seen it in many ways in some business decisions I made in the beginning or even now. And I often hear a lot of us, whether, however you identify, a lot of us don't know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And we're scared to say what we want.
Mm-hmm. I actually taught a class called, and I'm rewriting it now, Who Am I and What Do I Want?
It's perfect.
And it was geared towards business owners.
Yeah.
Because the business it's a doorway. It's a method of getting to know yourself. So imagine if you did that first.
Oh my, that was brilliant. I mean, can we rewind that? Because you and I both believe that business is a spiritual journey.
Absolutely.
So go ahead, continue. That is what is Oprah call it? Is that tweetable? That's a tweetable.
Oh, tweetable. Okay.
Tweet that.
All right. Let's finish that. I often have that where things come through and I'm like, I'm not going to remember that. Can someone write that down? It is the doorway. And I truly believe our souls choose this. We are here to merge the soul and the human self and have them kick butt together. Mm-hmm. So that voice, that push, that drive often comes from that soul knowing that you have something within you that once you connect with, and to be clear, it's for each person's individual soul journey. It is not about surface first. We got to be honest about that too, that we're each here for our own individual soul's journey. And if part of that happens to be creating this amazing business that, brings the best cupcakes or, opens doors for people or removes blocks, helps them to create the work that they want to do in the world, then that fulfills us. And then business takes a lot less energy because you're not going around all these blocks. You're not going around all these, I can't. You're in I can. Well, I can. If one looks at their business, again, as that partner and kind of gets a little devilish of what do you want to do? Those messages that are very, very much planted in childhood and are part of the subconscious, you can rework the subconscious. And so that it takes up less space in your actions and in your thinking, and the conscious mind takes up more. So that is usually my intention. I do have an intention of helping people to know themselves so well that they'll take into consideration advice. They will learn. but they get to decide and be the authority of self and what matters and stuff, because then people are calmer.
Because you're free.
Yeah.
Because you're free.
And it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that you don't love your family.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that we have to cut everybody off.
Right.
There can be I see who you are. I respect who you are. I am who I am. I chose you for some reason. And this is how I bring my best skills forward, because a lot of the times the people who have tumultuous childhood end up being the greatest leaders.
Wow. Isn't that something? I am pretty vulnerable with my people, with my community, sharing, because I'm not talking to anyone that feels like this stuff isn't real. Like, I want you to understand that you could be a first generation college graduate. You could have lived in a disadvantaged background and have seen some of the things I've seen and have dealt with abandonment and all those other issues as a youth. This is my life, right? Mm-hmm. But there's also a huge form of resiliency that we have, and we all have a choice, And so, like, for those that are listening, this isn't woo-woo. Science says there are neurological changes when you have chronic stress. You have neurological changes in those neurons where you have in the synapse where the communication happened, y'all. Okay. At the end of the day, I'm still a clinician. It happens. It changes us. Yeah. So we have to do the work, and you have to be brave enough to do the work, because some of us don't want to know ourselves. We're scared of what we're going to see on the other end.
And a lot of that, I find, is because there's a fear that the greatness that we feel within is true. And have I avoided it all this time? Or again, what will I do with it? So I think one of the aspects of my coaching that I'm most proud of is I take that fear down so many notches by being able to say, it's okay. We're going to do this incrementally. You're going to meet you, and you're really going to like her, because I promise you or him, I wouldn't work with you if you weren't, someone of quality. And so I think the message that the courage it takes to go and decide that you're going to be in business, I promise you have the courage to meet you. Mm-hmm. Like, if you decided to be in business, you have the courage to be looking at your, characteristics, the ones that are supportive and the ones that need to shift.
Yes.
Because a lot of the times when you look at it, it dissipates. It's like when the kids go, mom, 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 and you're like, what? And they're like, hi.
Right. That's funny. Yeah. That's true, though. And I like the fact that you said, like, supportive, and then those that need to be shifted. You did not use a negative term, and that's the thing. Like, some people, like, you have strengths and you have weaknesses. No, you have things that you are naturally gifted at, and others where you may need support.
Right. And that learning, we're here to learn. I don't use the words positive and negative in my work. I'm like, okay, that seems unsupported or unsupportive towards self. Negative and positive are for batteries. They're not for who we are, because if we don't embrace those aspects of ourselves that aren't all that pretty, then we'll never be able to see or feel a wholeness. And again, a lot of the times when you look at it, humor's huge here, but also understanding that some of the way that you're acting today is because of those neural pathways. You're not doing anything wrong. However, once you learn that patterns have been laid down and you understand that there are some patterns, well, then you better start showing up with some responsibility. You're not responsible for not knowing before.
Yeah.
But once you learn it, and that's where I try to, it's exciting. It's fun to learn. I understand the fear, and I'm a big hugger. So the virtual thing, even though I went virtual a year before we had to, it's hard for me sometimes because I just want to hug somebody. So I'm like, here's an energy hug coming your way.
Right.
But this is, if someone truly wants to address the success level in their business, it's worth addressing how they look at themselves, what it feels like. And that can be done in the moment. It does not mean that you have to, dig deep every day.
Yeah.
It means you're aware of your behaviors and you witness them and you catch them and then you go, that was cute. Okay.
Right.
I think that's an unsupportive one. I think I might want to shift that.
Yep. Absolutely. So this is my last question to you. If you were to go back to like the very beginning, year one of you starting your business, what advice would you give to yourself?
It's so important that I went through that to learn all of this. The advice I would give to myself is to learn to appreciate that the wiring I have is very different than a lot of people. It doesn't make it any more important. It's just very different. I spent a lot of time saying, oh, everybody has this. Everybody sees things this way. And I realized, well, no, they don't. So I feel like I would say to myself kindly, hopefully, appreciate this. This is how you're wired. Now go do something with it. So that I spent a lot of time doubting, which is why I understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, okay. Well, please tell the listeners, and of course this information will be in the show notes, but tell them where they can find you, where they can learn more from you to get the help they need in really figuring out the root of these limiting beliefs.
Yeah. I love getting a good shovel out and getting those roots out. So VickiBaird.com, VickiBaird.com, at Coach Vicki Baird across all platforms, except TikTok. I'm not doing it. It's not happening. Info at VickiBaird.com will get you directly into Tracy, who will get it to me. Just reach out. I love community and supporting and helping people to find a little humor with this human process, not take it so seriously.
Yeah.
To appreciate growth.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I loved our conversation.
Thank you. And for everything that you're doing to bring the honesty.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning into the show. Dive in deeper by visiting the show notes for this episode or listening to more episodes on JasminHaley.com. If you found value in the show, share with a friend or leave us a review. I'll see you next time.